I want to hear opposing views. That's what I want to hear.
Every time I put online, I'm looking to interview people to entertain my audience. There's a lot of people who are like, "Oh, I'll do it," but it's people I know. If you were a little more prestigious, then maybe.
Oh, excuse me. I didn't know
It,
that.
It'd be like the
Only
craftsman versus his apprentice. That's
whatever.
this is why when I
I'm
talk to
kind of
these
glad
rabbis, I
that
don't say it's a debate. I say it's an interview. I mean, this whole debating thing arose because there's so many idiots out there who just like insult me like over stupid crap. I mean, there was this guy who posted pictures of my army days and he said that I was doing stolen valor or something like that. I'm like, you know what stolen valor means? It means when you're wearing a uniform and you weren't in the military. But there was a picture like on my Facebook that I was in Israel doing airsoft. Right, so in airsoft, everyone puts old BDUs on, and they're like, "Oh, that's stolen valor." And then, of course, every idiot came out of the closet and just started attacking me and posting stuff. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" And then, of course, the whole thing that I'm a fake. I don't know what that means. I'm a fake, but anyways, I'm a fake. I'm a fraud. This and that. So I'm like, okay, fine. I'll challenge all your teachers to a debate, and if I win, I guess your teachers aren't much if a fraud took it to them. So that's my tactic. That's the only way to prove that you're worth anything, at least in the academic world. I mean, it's easy to be a scholar on your own and just sort of have monologues or give classes where people aren't allowed to challenge you. I mean, anyone could come out like that. I mean, it's like an actor, right? I mean, you put an actor in a movie, I mean, he'll kick your butt, right? Put him in the octagon, I mean, he'll get knocked out. My first discussion online was with Michael Brown. I remember once I made a response to one of his videos and I mentioned his name on the title of the video. And someone sent in the video and then he dissected the video on air. I didn't even know he had the video till a friend of mine said, "Hey, you know, like Michael Brown is talking about you on the line of fire. Call in and debate him." I'm like, I'm not going to do that. You see, he says, if you're not going to call in, I'm going to call in. I'm like, oh boy. You know, so he calls in and he does a terrible job. He did such a bad job that I felt that I had to call in to defend my friend. And that was the first discussion I had with Michael Brown. I called in because my friend didn't really, I mean, he got too emotional. It was like yelling on the phone and stuff like that. So then I had maybe like a 20-minute dialogue with Michael Brown. And then I had two other debates slash discussions with him on his show. So he told me I basically don't call no more.
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
I would call from then on, I would call every Thursday. And then he's like, you know, there's nothing else for us to talk about. All right. I'm like, yeah, all right.
well, he has
You
his
know,
people, and numerous times he has his people ID. So like when you say like I'm Courtney from Alabama, they write it down and they keep a book on it so that he can. Because I've called in and he goes, "Hey, Courtney, our friend Courtney," or something like that, or whatever it
Where
is.
he could pray over it.
No, I mean there's been times where he's muted it on me because of what I've said. Kind of challenges what he thinks, especially with his
I like
transparent.
Michael Brown. I
I
mean,
do
he's
too.
very courageous. Okay, fine. Like he won't discuss stuff on air and be, you know, but I mean, that guy walks around the streets just basically slapping people. I mean, theologically, that takes guts. He's got guts. That's why I like, to a certain extent, Rabbi Mizrahi. I mean, he says a lot of things that aren't popular. The religious world lacks courage nowadays. But I mean, I like Tovia Singer also. I mean, not so much for debating, but he started the counter missionary game. I mean, there was a rabbi before him that wrote a book called The Jew and the Christian Missionary that laid the premise for Tovia Singer and his later book of Let's Get Biblical. His name is Gerald Siegel. His
Oh
book is
yeah,
like from the 80s.
yeah.
what do you think about Michael Skolback?
I spoke to Michael Skolback for about 2 hours on the phone, but he told me don't put it on the air.
Of course.
Michael
But
Skolback
it
is
wasn't
very
a
boring.
debate. It was a discussion. I mean, I'll tell you what we spoke about. I basically laid down the same ideas. I mean, he's not a debater. This is why Michael Skolback or anyone from Jews for Jesus, I don't think they've ever debated anyone. Can you guys think of any Jews for Jesus guy who ever debated anyone on the air? I don't think so.
Yeah, he
I
does
mean,
a
you
lot
find
of
it and post it in
lectures.
the chat. Right, he does lectures, but they're monologues. I mean, they're just sort of talking to people who are already Jewish. Yeah, no, the guy's bright. I basically told him the same stuff that I tell all these rabbis. Like, he agrees that there's something wrong with encouraging people to become Jewish, but he doesn't do it because he doesn't care to. He's doing a job. He was hired to do a job. His job is to bring Jews out of the church. That's his job. So why should he go above and beyond and encourage Gentiles to become Jewish? He doesn't care about that. And that's the average rabbi who does outreach. All these rabbis get paid for what they do. That's one reason why they can't really go against the status quo, because people will stop sending them money. But he told me, yeah, that his job is to just make Jews religious and get them out of the church, and he's not there to preach to Gentiles. And if Gentiles could take stuff from his lectures, then fine, they take stuff from his lectures. I worked in outreach in Israel, and all these guys get paid. I mean, heck, I got paid in Israel doing it. I mean, this is just a job for them. They punch in and they punch out. Now, this isn't the same for groups like Chabad. I mean, Chabad, they're very devoted. I believe that the average Chabad rabbi would give you the shirt off his back if you're a Jew. They actually believe in this because they tie it into the Messianic age, and they believe the Rebbe's requires this in Kabbalah. This is part of gathering the lost sparks and all that stuff, which is why most of the rabbis I've debated are Chabad, because they're the ones who even bother debating this notion. If I would talk to an average...
So that's why you're always debating Chabad.
Well, they're the only ones who really care about anything having to do with Gentiles. Chabad are the ones who push the Noahide laws, or at least it was the Lubavitcher Rebbe who spearheaded the whole Noahide campaign. Now, I challenge everybody to a debate, but for some reason, the only people who respond are Chabad. I mean, it's not just that I pick on Chabad.
Oh, you know who I think you should debate? The Acts, Acts 15 apologetics or whatever his name is. He debates a lot of Muslims. He has a crazy
I tried.
So, you know who I'm talking about?
David Wood.
Yeah. A guy nutted up, went into prison, and then...
There's a debate I did with his partner, Vocab Malone. So Vocab Malone comes out on all his videos. So I told Vocab Malone, ask David Wood if he would debate me. David Wood got back to me. He said that he doesn't know enough about the topic to debate, which is Judaism and versus the New Testament, because they focus on Muslim stuff, and that's something that I would really like to focus on too. There is no Islamic apologetics coming out of the Jewish world. There's Islamic sympathizers, like this guy, what's his name? Rabbi Abramson. I mean, he's like the ambassador to the Islamic world in Judaism. He's like pro-Muslim. I would like to create a Jews for Judaism, but for Muslims, that focuses on Islam. I think I know why Jews have put their guard down in terms of Islamic theology, just because of this whole notion that Muslims aren't idolaters. But this is something the Rambam invented, because other rabbis believed that they were idolaters. So I would love to really hop in and learn Arabic, and that's hard. I mean, these pronunciations. I mean, Hebrew's easy, right?
Yeah,
so once I went to a mosque in Virginia, there was an interfaith conference for pastors, imams, and rabbis. So one of the meetings was in a mosque, and I was talking to the imam, and the guy was telling me how in the Islamic world, they suffer from the same problems that Christians and Jews suffer with in terms of liberalism. Like, women in the Islamic world are many times very secular or very liberal, and they fight to be able to stand next to men during the prayers, because traditionally in traditional mosques, the women sit behind. As a matter of fact, that is the way Jews used to pray. But the whole notion of a mechitza, like an actual separation, is new. It doesn't appear in halakha. I mean, the truth is women never went to the synagogue, but if they did go, they would stand behind the men, because there is a prohibition in looking at a woman when you're saying ma and stuff like that.